Welcome, my name is Alexis Marie Chute. I am a visual artist, amongst other things, and I am here because I would like to share with you my finger knitting technique. I love doing this. I do it all the time for my hanging sculptures, and I do this with yarn, wool, recycled fabrics and clothing, and I also use this technique in many different unique and interesting ways, which you can find out about in my artwork and my other videos and on my website. But today I want to share with you the process of how to finger knit, and it's something that I love doing, but it's also something that I know as I learn more and more techniques, I'm going to forget. So it's one of those things like riding a bicycle, but sometimes you just need to have a little extra help getting on the bicycle to figure out how to get going. So that's what I'm going to share with you today, is my finger knitting technique. So let's dive in. I love sharing my art practice with viewers, with people as I share my work, and I really love combining different kinds of materials. And here I'm going to use a yarn, a really nice thick yarn, to do this finger knitting technique. So here you can see chunky Luxe Big. I love chunky big things, but you can also use a really thin, fine yarn as well. So I wrap it around my hand once, and has to go in front of your palm, and then winding it between your fingers to make this pattern. And if you don't get the pattern quite right, then it does screw everything up. So then you take the bottom, you shift that thing over there, you take the bottom and you flip it over the top. So bottom over top, bottom over top. You kind of keep this nice rhythm. If you look at my fingernails, it's because I've been painting with some of my hanging sculptures, and so I could not get some of the black and pink spray paint off my hands. It was like, nope, not coming off. So here we keep winding it around, and then we go over the top, the bottom one over the top one, bottom one over the top one. And for now, I'm just keeping that little tail tucked in the thumb of my left hand beneath there. And then you always just push it down because you want to wind it over again. So over, down, up and around, and then flip it. The lower one above the higher one, lower above higher. And once you are working with thicker yarn, wool, or other kinds of rope, like sometimes I use climbing rope to do these. Yeah, you really need to push your fingers down, make sure they're spread out like really wide so that you can keep things loose enough. Otherwise it might get so tight that you can't actually do this. So it's pretty simple. I actually learned this technique from my daughter. I can't remember, like she was in elementary school, and I went and I think we volunteered in a class, or I can't remember, she learned this in school or something. It was probably a decade ago, and somehow I just miraculously managed to keep this technique in my head. But yeah, and it's something that I use all the time. So here you go. You wind it up, and here I'm showing you an example. If it falls off, you twist it back on. These are one of those things too, if you make a mistake, it's not the literal end of the world. Let's not be perfectionists here. So the lower one flipped over the top one, and you just keep going. So this is a really intense yarn. It's very dense, like the thing that I end up with in the end. So here, lightning speed. I actually get so good at this that I go really, really, really fast. Not literally this fast, but pretty fast. And so you can just see how once you get into the rhythm of this, you can put the TV on, you could listen to an audiobook, you could be sitting around a campfire, all kinds of things. So I just really want to remind myself for future, look how dense and beautiful that is. It looks totally different if you use a different kind of yarn or different kind of wool or rope, but this one's really dense and thick and beautiful and heavy, so it gives you that really solid feeling. And so I'm going to be incorporating this exact piece into one of my hanging sculptures that I'm working on, and using a different type of arm weaving technique, which I'm going to show you in a different video, which is something new that I'm just getting into. So here, yeah, it goes lightning fast. You can't even see the paint on my fingernails in this one. So we're getting close to the end. So ending is very important. I always love to make sure everything is really tight and knotted and secure at the end. So here I'm doing my last few little loops and pushing it on, and again doing the bottom one over the top one, keeping it on my finger there, bottom one over the top one. And once you get the feel of this, you don't even have to look, which makes it really fun. Bottom over top, and then I'm just being very aware of like, how much do I have left? And I'm like, uh-oh, look, I can't go down and up to do the whole like interweaving between the fingers. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my 4 little loops here, make sure I've got enough of them, and I'm gonna put them all over one finger. This is really not an exact science when I do it. I just loop it over one finger to secure it at the end. So I'm gonna take that little tail that's hanging off, and I am going to fit it through. Interestingly, so I'm trying to like, create a little more space for myself. I'm gonna like loop this around to make sure that I can actually like fit this tail piece through, because I want to knot this. Otherwise it will literally all come untangled, which is sort of the last thing you want to do after you worked really hard to do this finger knitting technique. So I'm gonna push that through, finding the little hole leading all the way through, and then I'm gonna secure this knot. So I love bridging the materials and techniques that were once thought of as like women's craft type of techniques and art, and bridging those into fine art and combining materials and being mixed media. Like this is just, I think my soul is mixed media at the heart of it. So here I'm just continually like looping these little things through. You can see you just have to be delicate and make sure you're paying attention to the little techniques at the end so it doesn't come all untangled. But yeah, so here I'm just securing it, making sure it's tight. I'm going to tie some knots before I go and I do the tail at the other end. So these knitting yarn techniques are going to come into play in lots of different ways in the little and big. I have some really big art projects I'm working on. And yeah, it's just like a really fun little technique to know. So this is finger knitting. I'm also going to show you a different type of knotting technique in a different video. But you can just see that's nice and secure. It's not going to come undone. Look how thick this weave is. Man, I actually found this yarn at a garage sale. We have a community garage sale, and there's like so many garage sales. I biked around and I got such a great haul, and this was one of the things that I found at one garage sale. So look at how like beautiful that finger knitting technique creates. So here, like I said, I'm just gonna secure this so I don't have the 4 little things exactly. So I just find some loops and then tie it through exactly the same way that I did on the other end. So I'm like searching, okay, trying tugging that, yeah, it's secure. Okay, I'm gonna push this end through that I tied a knot in at the very beginning and just make sure it's like locked in and secure. Yeah, so I find these types of balls of yarn at garage sales, thrift stores, secondhand places. Sometimes I find, people are like, I have all this stuff, I'm not using it anymore, would you like it? And I'm like, yes, please. If you have any kind of weird material, please send it my way. Yeah, so look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you so much for watching, and check out my other videos. Please subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.